Hey everyone, I'm just going to start off by saying I'm not going to tweet this video out, I'm not going to share it anywhere, okay? So this is really for you guys, the ones that actually subscribe and watch all the videos, as much as anything else, you know. So I've not really got much of a plan or a script. I know what I want to talk about and we'll kind of mumble about and fumble about and we'll see where we get to. But I just wanted to basically, we'll be calling the video something like phase 2 of the season, which is basically what we're going to be entering right now. So obviously we've got the international stuff, we've spoken about that enough. I don't want to really talk about it too much more in any kind of significant detail. But if you look at the footy, it's been back another basically 700 points. So that is over the last 2 days, almost 1,000 points or so have dropped off the footy. Now, if you're paying attention to this type of thing, you'll maybe think, oh wow, people are, like I did yesterday when I listened to the minus 160 or whatever it was, oh, people maybe just cashing out and withdrawing some money or whatever. But when you see something, so the reason this really catches my attention, right, is a big backward movement, right? But also we had a bunch of IPOs drop, right? So when you have IPOs drop, generally it has the reverse effect on the market. You know, people are putting more money into it. They're picking up all these guys here you see are IPOs. Belfodil, Benez, I'm not too sure about. I didn't really check the list. Nobody was really. I like Pacencia. I like the Carlos Perez guy. I like Belfodil, but I wasn't really. It just wasn't up for, you know, hanging about and chasing it down this time. So normally, as I say, when you get IPO, especially a Barcelona player who's going to be playing, you know, you'd expect the market to move forwards rather than backwards, okay? Now, phase 2, what we're going to be... So, what we've had so far with the first 4 match days, and then if you include this match day where we've got the international stuff going on, what we've really seen come to the fore is a real shift in the power that's on the index, okay? So, obviously Neymar, Mbappe hasn't really played, Messi hasn't played, all these big key players haven't really featured in an actual football match to really prop up their worth, and that's why you've seen the rise of Sancho, because he's played and done very well. Guys like Sterling, of course, as well. Salah's back on form, Rashford's done okay, Felix is getting his feet, and De Bruyne's really, you know, popped and went nuts. But you've also then got a little clutch of players like the Neymars, especially for me, Messi and Hazard, having not played so far. They're both, in my opinion, vastly undervalued. I had Hazard a lot last season, and Hazard favoured the old matrix pretty well. Now with the increase on the dribble and stuff, the benefits you've seen that filter onto Sancho, you will get for Eden Hazard when he gets firing at Real Madrid. And Messi is I put a tweet out in the Matrix after a couple of days, and I was like, when I thought Messi was coming back, it was just a picture of Neo from the Matrix, and I said, this is Leo Messi, because I think he will be the master, you know, to be honest with you, once he gets playing, and you see that yourself. So we've seen a few different things. Kimmich is kind of fallen off the perch a little bit. Alexander Arnold's still won dividends, don't get me wrong, but the fullback kind of dynamic where it was all about attacking fullbacks and centre backs were by and large didn't offer you very much. We've seen, and again, I don't want to labour on it too much, because again, if you guys are watching the video, you obviously watch my videos fairly frequently. You know I've been chatting about this quite a lot, but in terms of the PB and your actual ability to win the big dividends, is in terms of defenders is much more evenly spread. You know, we picked up Pickford. He got 160 match points, not the last game he played, but the one before, not 160, I beg your pardon, 120 odd, and that was without keeping a clean sheet. And then again at the weekend he got about 100 odd with conceding like 2 or 3 goals or something like that. So there's a big shift now, and again, when you've got goalkeepers that play long balls, that's why they're going to get extra points as well as saves, and if they save a penalty as well, clean sheets even better. But we're seeing a big shift now in the defensive side of Football Index for those central players that are, and it was actually really funny because I was listening to an ESPN FC video. I watch a lot of their stuff on YouTube because they talk about a wide array of topics. The pundits, you might have your own opinions on their credibility and whatever, that's fine, right? But they do talk about a lot of different topics, which I find interesting. And they're saying De Ligt had an absolute nightmare against Napoli, and when you look at the highlights, yeah, you can definitely see that. But from my perspective in Football Index and how the scoring matrix works, when I looked at his stats, I'm going to pause the video and I'll pull them up for you. Now, he got an absolute terrible rating of 5.9, okay, but at different points of the match, especially when they were winning, look at that fact up there, the most accurate passer in the team, basically, on the day. 44 accurate passes, he had 1 shot, block shots, you know, you can see all this stuff breakdown here. But look at this, long balls and accurate long balls are massive, and we've seen centre backs win dividends on that kind of those stats alone. Guys like Denier, Hummels, Maguire, you know, who won the dividends for Inter? Oh, I think it was Asamoah, wasn't it? You know, so there was actually a lot here that I like. Won an aerial challenge, couple of recoveries, but it's his first game. He's chucked in the deep end. He wasn't expected to play, so it's, you know. Anyway, I'm digressing, but we've seen a lot of PB points been filtered out of the wider crossing, attacking players into those central controlling players, okay? And you've seen a real shift in terms of prices on a lot of these guys, you know. Most famously in my portfolio, guys like Sabitzer and Joan Jordan have also done amazingly well. But there's lots of other guys round about the index that, from those positions. Axel Witsel is a great one that pops to mind. They've been getting a lot of love and a lot of money been made on them, because they're now starting to really show and highlight their abilities, you know, and it's only a matter of time before maybe like your Zaniolos and your Tielemans and let's see if anyone else pops up, you know, obviously Pjanic, Taji Savernier. I don't think he's actually kicked a ball yet this season. There's a lot of room for, and Danny Pereiro, who could forget Danny Pereiro? The thing about Danny Pereiro, him and Banega were mainstays last year. They were great for dividends last year, and it's not surprising that they're continuing to do really well this year. Brozovic has done well under it, of course. But the one thing I've noticed, and I've been really hunting and searching for, is that strikers, it's really difficult to find strikers that tick a lot of boxes on a consistent level in terms of PB scoring. You know, the guys that are winning it, guys like Werner, Sterling, Sancho, you know, all these guys that have won best striker, Lewandowski, they're scoring lots of goals, and that's what you'd expect from a striker. But what I've been really searching for, and I've not really found yet, is a couple of strikers that are listed on the index as a striker, that play a bit deeper. And guys like Kingsley Coman, for example, have been reassigned to midfield. Guys like Julian Brandt have been reassigned to midfield. Jonathan Bamba's the only one I'm still finding that's listed here as a forward. Obviously, you've got guys like, I'm talking about players that are not premium, they're not expensive, guys like Mbappe and Sancho and whatever. But that's what I'm really on the hunt out for now, because I think in the next phase, once we get more games, the players are ticking along, they're getting in the rhythm of the season, they're on track with tactics, they're on good form, there'll be some strikers that will really stand out. Alejandro Gomez could be, he's been reassigned to midfield. Or was he always a midfielder, in fact? I can't remember. He's good for dividends, as you probably know. But Alexis Sanchez, if he plays, he could be one, I suppose. But there's not a real array of choice for those forward positions, you know, for players that are dropping a bit deeper on the actual pitch of play and getting linked up and getting involved in different bits and bobs. You know, it's very few and far between. A lot of them are getting listed now as midfield. Leal's a striker, of course. Kone, midfield again, you know. So that for me, in the next phase, you'll notice, guys, I think Poulsen's done pretty well, because I've spoken about Poulsen, I'll go over it again, but look at Smirda, maybe even midfield again. I wonder about Son. Sorry guys, I'm just kind of chatting now. I like Son a lot. Is he still a forward? He is. Okay, so he could be one to keep an eye on. But I think in phase 2, we've seen a lot of attention going towards those central midfielders and those central defenders, and I think once we start getting some strikers that are showing themselves to be that same type of way, then you'll start to notice money's maybe swinging back towards them. Now, with the break that we've got on the now, you know, for me, certainly, as I mentioned cheese already, I'm not getting involved in international stuff. I'm not trading off the back of it. I'm not waiting for people to dip down or people to, I'm not buying, I've not really bought anyone for the sole purpose of catching them on. Obviously, they've got one example of Luka Jovic. Others besides that, nobody at all really. But what now is you're going to notice is on the 6th and the 7th of September, I've got it penciled in my diary here, and if you've been on the videos, you'll have seen these aren't anything new, but we've got earmarked purchases in for Friday and Saturday. Now, what that signifies from that point onwards is you get a great 30-day stretch until the next international break, where we've got Champions League games, we've got domestic fixtures, we've got single match days, double match days, a lot of different things are going on, okay? So if you are able to release some profit, you're maybe on the fence, I don't know what to do, these are the days you should be looking at buying next. You should not be looking to buy them. I don't recommend you buying anyone between now and Friday. If you've got money, you've released money, do your best, pardon me again, to sit on it and not do anything with it, and just wait, because there's a lot of great opportunities for fixtures for people you're going to buy between Friday and Saturday. So I'd expect midnight Thursday into Friday and midnight Friday into Saturday there to be a lot of movement, because there'll be a lot of people much smarter than I who have identified this as well, and will be wanting to get fingers on buttons and buying people exactly at the right point, you know. And again, if you've been watching my videos, whenever I refer to my calendar, you'll have seen I've had these purchases earmarked for a long time. And again, you've got to be as forward thinking as possible. I've not even looked into October and beyond yet, because I've just been so wrapped up in what's going on now, the changes in the matrix, and you know, a lot of other things we've got to keep our eye on. But as you get your feet under the table, you get to grips with your portfolio, like I was mentioning, your portfolio should really be, it should get to stages in the season where you're doing you need to do a lot of work on it. I'm buying low and selling high on this guy so I can try and catch this guy on a low. I'll use that profit, I'll compound my profit. Compounding profit is basically what we've done with Madison. We had like 5 or 6 positions in Leipzig players that were all doing really well. We sold them all for a good profit. We bought on somebody else on a low, and then we've made profit. So that you know, £218, I don't think all of that is actual my money. There's a good bit of that that's profit already, on top of the actual market value of him as it sits today. So you'll go through stages like that where you're doing a lot of maintenance, you're doing a lot of trades, but then you should get little periods where you can just chill out, take a step back, and then go, right, this is what I'm sitting with. And the reason the fantasy football strategy is pretty much locked in for me right now is all my team there that you see are all European. They've all been called into their national team with the exception of Dembele and Jordan, which could change very easily in the future. And they will all be playing European, with the exception of the goalkeeper. They'll all be playing, in my opinion, European football after Christmas, which, if you've not been around here a long time, once you get past Christmas, having players involved, especially in the Champions League, becomes a real premium, becomes a real valuable asset, because those teams will go from being 32 to being 16, or you know, whatever it is. In the group stages, I can't be bored with the maths, but it's the last 16, isn't it? So 2 go through, 2 go, yeah, so it must be 32 teams. So you go from having 32 clubs playing Champions League football, and fuck knows how many teams playing Europa League group stages, down to being 32 in the Europa League and down to 16 in the Champions League once we hit that Christmas cut-off of the group stages. So having players that you're happy to hold for as long as possible in that situation, please don't get itchy feet with them, because there will be trades that you'll maybe sell in October, November if they don't play well, or you want to jump on an IPO or something else, that come February, March, if you've not needed to take that money out the platform, you'll be kicking yourself thinking, fuck, I could have held on to him all this time. That other move I made a wee bit of money, but this guy's just ran away now and he's doing amazing. And that's one thing you need to consider. And that's why this strategy now for me is very rock solid. We've got guys in it like Ronaldo and De Bruyne and De Ligt that have a degree of media presence. We've got guys like Dembele and Goretzka, Jordan, Denier that could make transfers in the future. You know, they're not, you know, guys like De Jong and De Bruyne and Ronaldo, I don't see them moving anywhere anytime soon. You know, so again, we're trying to cover a lot of boxes. The only thing we don't really have touched on too much is we have one Europa League player in Jordan, which, you know, all Europa League teams play on Thursday night. You know, with Champions League, you've got Tuesday, Wednesday, you know, alterations. So sometimes that will work to your benefit. But with Europa League players, they're all playing on the same night, and it is a real bit of a lottery. Now, if you can identify maybe a Mönchengladbach or a Roma player, or, you know, a strong team, Sevilla have got such an easy group, obviously. A strong team in the Europa League that have an easy group, that I would just back one of them, you know, personally. That's just the way I would work, because if you try and cover so many of the teams on those Thursday nights, only one player is going to win defender, midfielder, forward and star man, even though there is like a million teams playing. You know, so when it comes to the Europa League, you really need to bear that in mind. Whereas with the Champions League, as I mentioned already, you have that alteration of Wednesdays and Tuesdays, early kickoffs and late kickoffs on those evenings, you know, so there's different things and there's different stimuluses in play that are playing a part on that. So as we move into phase 2, you will notice these Champions League, Europa League players will really step up. Those players are also eligible to play Euro qualifiers and ultimately the European Championships next summer. Will also have a bit of a premium on them. But also, as well, as I mentioned, the market has identified, oh wow, the change in the matrix does favour, in a lot of situations, central midfield players, and on as much of an occasion is not. Central defenders are now getting a bit of a boost, you know, so it's not just the Kimmiches and the Trents that are going to win Best Defender. Van Dijk won a lot, of course, last season, as you'll be aware, but Van Dijk was the best defender in the world last year, and he will, you know, he'll do really well again. I'm quite sure of that. But we're getting a bit more of an even split. So once the forwards, that's what I'm kind of coming back to. Once again, the forwards that are maybe a bit more matrix friendly. Messi, in my opinion, is probably the best example, and he's not cheap at £5, but that will soon look cheap for him once he gets playing and firing, I believe. That's what we're really looking for next in phase 2. And then as we roll into the next European window at the beginning of October, again, my portfolio, it depends how you want to play Football Index, you know, but me personally, I'm really looking forward to these international breaks as just being like, almost if you did traditional gambling, almost like a free bet. You know, like, if I win, great. If I don't, I'm not bothered. It doesn't affect anything now. But obviously, as the season rolls on, that will become even more valuable, because if you're going to be having players and teams that are qualifying for European Championships and they're going to be active and involved in that next summer, it's a great thing to be a part of. When I opened my index account, it was March, whatever year it was, the year of the World Cup 2018. We had the World Cup right immediately, and the World Cup, bearing in mind when I opened up my portfolio, the footy was 13,000, and by the time we got to the World Cup, I think we'd been up to like 30,000, maybe 40. So it stimulated a lot of growth, and I think again the European Championships this summer will do the same kind of thing again. It might sound a bit daft or a bit bold, right? But come the European Championships, if the footy was 200,000, I would not be really that surprised, to be honest with you. It's 8 months down the road. There's a lot of football to be going on. The gambling industry is absolutely massive, and the more success people have on the index, it spreads, you know. And if you're watching this, you have been invited to Football Index by a friend, you've found something that's interested you, you've done it yourself, perhaps off your own back, but you've got to think there'll be more and more people that'll be slowly bled into it, and even existing users, you know. When you'll see the footy going up, I think I seen a thing on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, but they said, like, since the beginning of the season, like £9 million has been put in or something like that, and £700,000 in dividends have been paid out. That's 700,000 in dividends that have been paid out. That gets added to the footy. That's more money that comes into the marketplace. So as more and more people are winning dividends, like, these big hitters are good for the index. See the guys that win dividends continuously, they are great for the platform, because that money, 99 times out of 100, is being reinvested, because it's always marginal amounts in relative terms to how much money you have. Like, I've got £1,600 or so of a value in my portfolio, and I've made £15 in dividends in the last month, really. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money, but that money is almost always exclusively reinvested in players that you've maybe got an odd number of, or they maybe went backwards a couple of pence, you know. So that money will, in my opinion, it's 99 times out of 100 that's reinvested back in. So phase 2, guys, if you've went through this first little part and you're like, oh, I wish I bought De Bruyne, I wish I bought this one or that one or whatever. For me personally, in phase 2, there's a lot of opportunities to be gotten at for this next phase coming up, and certainly for the rest of the season going forward. Seeing Havertz get below £4 for the first time in a while really catches my eye, you know. He's only been above £4. It seemed like such a meteoric rise, to be honest with you. I thought he was above £4 much longer than that, but he's dropped back down again. I say Hazard, once he gets firing, I've held him before, and I can tell you he wins dividends. And for the price he's at, and again, I think we'll see he actually has a good bit of media pull when he does get firing, because of who he is and what he's done previously in his career. But there's no real reason he can't be up and amongst the same price as Salah, certainly. I don't see any real reason for that, especially if we want to get their act together and actually start beating teams. But then you've also got guys, and I said it as well on a video recently, I can't remember which one it was. Oh, it was the Champions League draw reaction. If Phil Foden gets, I think he'll get at least, I think he'll start that EFL Cup game against Preston or whoever it is, and I think he'll get some Premier League minutes, and he might even get the Zagreb game at home. So again, you're looking at Phil Foden at 361, and then you look at who's above him: Mount, Maddison, Greenwood, Hudson-Odoi, Rashford, Kane. If Foden starts playing, he's worth every penny they're worth, in my opinion. But again, it's a big if he gets playing, if he gets playing. That's the main thing to take home. And as I said, in phase 2, guys, you will notice some people will really drop off a cliff. I just want to say as well, by the way, I did a tweet and I was saying I think Graham Souness has been watching my videos because of the whole Moise Keane thing, and I wasn't until really this morning when I heard the radio they were saying like, oh, he's like being, I'm paraphrasing, but passively racist. But so I've retweeted it saying like, oh, I think he's been watching my videos. I said that already. But when you look at the facts of it, right, forget the fact that he's black, right? A 19-year-old wonder kid, which we're all happy to call Moise Keane, leaves Juventus for under market value, 27 million quid, with no buyback clause to Everton. You know what I mean? Juve, as I said at the time, are like the transfer masters. You know, there's something. I said at the time, there's something in that. If he got, and what I said was, if he got a random injury or he didn't really step up, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, so I stick by that. I'm not. There's nothing racist about it from what I'm saying, certainly, and my perspective on it. But I think if, you know, if Man United sold, I don't know, it's hard to. If Man United sold Marcus Rashford to Torino for 27 million, you know, you would be a bit like, eh? Why is that? You know, Moise Keane's playing for Italy, he's got a great growth. Anyway, I digress, guys. But as I say, the whole point in this video is just keeping your eyes open for this phase 2. You're going to notice some players that haven't played too much. And as I say that, I see Kubo's on the screen. But people who haven't maybe played too much, like Messi's and these guys, when they start to play, when the season comes back after this international break, and we start to find the next thing the market is going to gravitate towards is those forwards, those strikers, ones that are unlisted as forwards. Depay is a good example of that. Of course, he takes a lot of set pieces, as you know. He's done pretty well, and that's why his price is quite stable and quite strong in a really high position. But once we start to find more of these guys, I think the market is going to gravitate towards them next, like you've seen previously with the central midfielders especially, and some central defenders, okay? So like I said at the beginning of the video, guys, it was going to be a bit of a babble. I'm not going to be promoting this video anywhere, so if you're watching this, I know you're a subscriber to the channel, so thank you very much. If there is the slight chance that you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe to the channel. It means so much to me. We're pushing to get to that 1,000 mark as soon as possible. Comments below, guys, I welcome them with open arms. And again, a video like this I'm not going to promote, and it's just really for me and you to have a listen and a talk about. The comments I get in these videos are always much more important to me, because I think, do you know what, you are the guys that are actually watching the videos. You've not just clicked on a link, watched it for 2 minutes and then went away and did something else. You know, you guys actually subscribe and watch the videos and everything as well, guys. Okay, so get comment below. Thoughts on anything we've discussed in the video would be very much appreciated. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one. Hope you make a lot of money in the international break, by the way. And yeah, stay out of trouble. Catch you on the next one. Bye bye.